Mr. Vice President, thank you for having us here today.
Good to see you.
So you had quite an eventful morning over at Union Station, as we saw in that clip. Tell us about how you decided to go over there. You know, a lot of us D.C. residents and former D.C. residents know it well.
Those were the protesters that were crashing out, obviously.
But it's been the site of a lot of crime in recent years.
Of course.
And you decided to pay a visit. What happened?
Well, so a couple things. So first of all, I had heard from a couple of friends who used to avoid Union Station because there were vagrants and there were crazy people screaming at kids that they avoided Union Station. But over the past 9 days, since the president did this emergency order, it looks a lot better. It feels a lot safer. So I was talking with Stephen Miller and with Pete Hegseth about this in the Oval Office yesterday. And I was like, you know, we should just go over there and say hello to people. And you've got a lot of National Guardsmen over there, some D.C. cops who have been heckled by some of the protesters. So I thought, what a good show of moral support to have the vice president and some of the senior team at the White House show up. We bought him some burgers, hang out with him a little bit. And actually, the most interesting thing, Laura, was after the cameras left, Pete and Steve and I stayed and, you know, had lunch with these troops and just learned a lot about what they're seeing, about how much the city has changed in just the past 9 days. So crazy statistic. You know, violent crime has dropped in D.C. 35% in 9 days.
So they arrested 500 people and the crime went down by 35%. Gentlemen, the 2% rule seems to be undefeated. Who could have expected that arresting the people that commit crime makes crime stop happening? How are you right again? Because anybody who didn't think this was happening was retarded. The only way to be right is there's only one prerequisite. Don't be retarded.
In D.C. have dropped 55% in 9 days.
Wow.
And it highlights the fact that this living with lawlessness and disorder, that's fundamentally a question of political will. If you've got the political will to enforce the law, you can make even cities like D.C. safe again. And that's what we're demonstrating. And I hope that the American people take an important lesson from this, because obviously D.C. is a federal city, New York, L.A., these places are not. I hope the American people just recognize that you don't have to live with lawlessness. You don't have to live with third world murder rates. If you
This is one thing that, like, I really think that he needs to push more, and they need to push more, is that this expectation of crime and problematic behavior in cities and certain public spaces is completely artificial. Like, nobody actually has to deal with this bullshit at all. There's no reason to deal with it. There's no... Why would anybody have to deal with this ever?
Take control of these cities, you can make them safe places to live in.
So your pal Gavin Newsom calls this an abuse of power, that this is just a power grab, and this is all stunt for show, and that you all are going to roll through other cities.
In my opinion, I think it's an abuse of power to not do this. Because you're effectively, by not doing it, you're allowing everybody who's in the area to be abused by these criminals. So it's like you're choosing between abusing the criminals or abusing the law-abiding citizens. I don't really see, like, there's not really a third option here, is there?
You've heard things about, martial law is going to be declared. And to that you say?
Well, first of all, how is it a power grab or how is it a stunt when we've already declined murders by 35% in 9 days?
It's clearly
how
happening.
Many people are living and breathing today because Donald Trump had the willpower to say, you know what, we're sick of D.C. being a home to lawlessness.
PvP zone.
We're going to bring some public order back to the nation's capital.
Oh, yeah.
So what I would say to Gavin Newsom or to anybody else in some of these big blue states or big blue cities is you can have law and order, you can have common decency, you can have public spaces that young families can go to again. I'll tell you a story, Laura. A couple of years ago, the last time I was in Union Station, I took my little kids there to get lunch, and they were being screamed at by homeless people, not compassionate.
He just says it. He just fucking says it. Yeah, exactly, man. Yeah, nobody wants to deal with the fucking Nevron. You go out, you want to have a nice day with the family, you just want to have a nice day by yourself. No, nobody wants to deal with this.
Compassionate to the homeless people to let them just fester when they clearly have mental health problems. Not compassionate to young families to not be able to go into one of America's great public spaces without being screamed at by a person clearly suffering
Why are Democrats
from a mental
doing
illness.
this?
I don't know.
Why is this a political strategy?
Laura, I have thought about this.
Because they view any sort of crackdown on crime as fundamentally racist. That's the reason why. And they view crime as an outcome of socioeconomic factors and not a personal choice. So it's effectively the removal of individualism from a person's, autonomy. And now this person is a robot that's just simply compelled to steal things out of the CVS. They're lost. That's the reason why. And then also, like, there's this, and like, insane asylums back in the day, they had their own problems too. It's not like they were perfect. So I think that people know that. And so they're like, okay, well, it's better to have them out on the street. Like, in my opinion, I think insane asylums are the lesser of two evils. But, they're both evil.
So often and so many times, I don't know why Democrats seem to love public disorder and chaos almost as a political ideology. And I think that part of what's going on is Democrats have got
anti-Western destructive ideology. Is that they fetishize third world countries and the concept of them, but they never go there. These are people that these are like white people that live in gated communities that, get anxiety if they hear a police siren, but they have like some longing for living in like the slums of India. Why is that? It's because they're not living in the slums of India. It's that simple.
So divorced from the communities that they allegedly serve that they don't realize the gross majority of residents in D.C., they want to walk through Union Station and just have a bite to eat or enjoy.
Exactly. Most people don't want to be screamed at by a homeless Nevron. That's absolutely correct.
Space with their families. They don't realize that so many people have been absolutely terrorized by Democrat crime policy.
This Christian nationalist fundamentalist Peter Thiel puppet clown tells you they arrested 500 criminals and crimed them down 95% in 9 days. Do you actually trust this clown? Yeah. Yeah, I believe that instantly, for sure. Yeah, 1% of the population commits, was it like 60-something% of violent crimes? Yeah, instantly. Of course I believe that. Definitely.
And so maybe they just don't make the connection between what Gavin Newsom says and the fact that places like D.C. or Los Angeles have some of the highest murder rates in the world.
And the D.C. police
there's been a pretty big movement to delegitimize J.D. Vance because people don't like the fact that he has an Indian wife. They also don't like the fact that he's been funded by Peter Thiel, who's the owner of Palantir. And they feel like he's a plant, effectively, and a Trojan horse for, some sort of like technocratic rule Jewish thing. That's a Manchurian candidate. Like that's and by the way, like, I'm not making a judgment on this. I'm just explaining what are people talking about? That's what they're talking about.
Investigated for potentially manipulating their crime data. I've heard this from other police forces across the country. Great cops, beat cops in places like Chicago have said, some of the crimes are reclassified to make a burglary something that's more of a disturbance, and that kind of stuff happens. But is this a federal issue at this point, if this is a manipulation of data and if it's widespread?
Well, it's certainly something that's being investigated, and I hope that we'll
If you're reporting data incorrectly, there's a reason for it. And if you're doing it systematically in a way that downplays what's happening, you're doing it because you know that what's happening is bad. Because if you didn't think that it was bad, you wouldn't need to downplay it. It's just logic.
What's going on. But even aside from any manipulation of data, when you have 911 wait times that are so long, a lot of crime doesn't even get reported. And we heard this all the time.
Somebody says, why don't you use your brain and stop simping for Vance without educating yourself? I'm going to ban you because you're not making an argument. Yeah, you're not making an argument. I know this is hard for people to understand, but telling somebody that they're stupid and they need to educate themselves because they're wrong, this isn't an argument at all. Like, it's not worth explaining to you and trying to like fight. No, if you have something that he's saying that you disagree with, then okay, fine. But these like abstractions, these like, vague criticisms, I don't really care about that. I don't want to hear that. It's fucking annoying. So yeah, it's emotional gibberish. Yeah. And so that's it. Ad hominems are low tier. Yeah. I don't want to deal with that at all.
People would say,
just letting you know,
well, my home's being robbed. I'm not even going to call the police because it's going to be 45 minutes before they show up. And that's not an indictment of the beat cop, by the way. They're so overwhelmed by how much violent crime there is that they're unable to actually bring public safety to these communities. So what we're doing is just changing the balance a little bit. We're putting more good guys on the streets and we're taking more bad guys off the streets. And we think that's
a good way to say it. Yep. That's a good way to communicate with the Walmart American. We're getting more good guys and less bad guys. All right.
Sort of thing that's going to bring public safety back to D.C. Again, it's already working in a very big way.
Now, on to Ukraine. Your February meeting with Zelensky and the president, that was quite something.
It was.
That was funny.
It was good.
How did you all break the ice this time? Take us into the room, because we're all dying to know that.
Well, I think when President Zelensky walked into the Oval Office, I was chatting with him, with the president, with some of the senior Ukrainian delegation. I said, Mr. President, so long as you behave, I won't say anything. And he just chuckled a little bit, and it was a good little icebreaker.
Sure.
I mean, what the president's trying to do, meaning our president is trying to do, is bring a 3.5-year very brutal conflict to a stop. It's killed way too many Ukrainians, way too many Russians. It's completely transformed the economy of Europe and of big parts of Asia. We just got to get back to peace. And I really do think you heard Vladimir Putin say this, that if Donald Trump had been president in 2022, this war would have never started. And now the president is really spending a lot of time, a lot of effort to stop Joe Biden's war, because I think it is Joe Biden's war. Without him being weak and provocative, I don't think that Russia would have invaded Ukraine. And now we have a situation where the president is trying to be strong and bold and trying to bring this thing to a close.
Now,
it's impossible to know. Putin could have just been saying that to make Trump positive towards him.
To the room when the president said, I'm going to call Putin now. And you got the Western leaders, they've all come to Washington. Now, what was their facial expression at that point? Did they anticipate that this was going to happen? Because it was, 8 hours ahead, Moscow time?
Yeah, it was like 1 a.m. Moscow time, and they had no anticipation. So we're actually in the eastern wing of the White House, and the president says, we've had a pretty good meeting. I'm going to go call Vladimir Putin and see what he says about it. And everybody's like, oh, you're going to call him next week? And he's like, no, what time is it in Moscow? Let's call him right now. And I think one of the things I've realized about President Trump's leadership is he cuts through the BS of some of these diplomatic protocols and just says, I'm going to get things done. If I want to talk to somebody, I'm going to talk to somebody. You had a lot of the Europeans who were saying, no, there needs to be proper, vetting, and the teams have to prepare.
Yeah, that's the reason why nothing ever gets done there, is that they have people that insulate themselves with endless amounts of red tape that prevent any action from really occurring so they can maintain their power structure. That's what's happening.
Call and blah, 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 blah. And the president was like, no. I want to talk to the guy. I'm going to talk to the guy. And I think that kind of no holds barred, no BS diplomacy is part of the reason why we've made the progress we have. And we've made a lot of progress, Laura. Look, who knows what's going to happen? The president tells me this all the time. You can never say with certainty what the outcome in this situation is going to be. But we now have the Russians talking to the Ukrainians. They're talking details about what would be necessary on each side to stop the fighting and stop the killing. We've made more progress in 3 months than the country had made in 3 years in stopping this conflict. And I think it's because sometimes you just need a president who will pick up the phone and call somebody.
When Vladimir Putin meets with Volodymyr Zelensky, can we assume that all the big details will have been discussed and generally agreed upon, namely the security agreement and land swap?
It's a good question. I think that if you go through the
I love how they say land swap as if Ukraine is going to get any land. I don't think Ukraine's going to be getting any land. I could be wrong, but I wouldn't be expecting it.
Process, then the answer is yes. But I think the president's preference and my preference would be, let's have them meet regardless.
Swap, guys.
You don't have to figure out every issue. And sometimes leaders sitting down face to face can break the logjam that their teams don't necessarily have the ability to do.
Yeah, sure.
There really are 2 big questions lingering out there. And in some ways it's very simple, but in some ways it's very complicated. Number one is Ukraine wants to know that it's not going to get invaded again by Russia. It wants to know that it's got territorial integrity long into the future. The Russians want certain pieces of territory most of which they've occupied, but some of which they haven't. So that is really where the meat of the negotiation is. The Ukrainians want security guarantees. The Russians want a certain amount of territory. Again, we finally got the details. We're working on them, but we haven't figured everything out. And I don't think that we should force, we shouldn't say that they can't sit down until you've figured out every little detail. Sometimes them sitting down is what facilitates figuring out those details.
You have been so strong on the idea
I think that's true. Yeah, I mean, at least sitting down and working together is better than doing nothing. I think that's definitely true.
Europe, paying for Europe's defense.
Sure.
And I think a lot of Americans don't understand that the EU GDP last year was about $19.18 trillion, if I'm right.
That's a lot.
Give or take. And the UK's is about $2.9 trillion.
Sure.
Ours is $29.8 trillion.
That's a lot of money.
You know the numbers better than I do. You should be Treasury Secretary.
Yeah. Sorry, Scott, I got your job. No, but so this is a lot of money. Europe has the money to defend itself.
Yeah.
So the security agreement, my question to you is, why should America carry the lion's share of the burden from now until Lord knows when for Europe when Europe has the money to defend itself?
Well, I don't think we should carry the burden here. I think that we should be helpful if it's necessary to stop the war and to stop the killing.
Yeah, sure. I think that's
but
what
I
most
think that
people
we should
think.
expect, and the president certainly expects Europe to play the leading role here. And what he said very clearly is, look, the United States is open to having the conversation, but we're not going to make commitments until we figure out what's going to be necessary to stop the war in the first place. And I think that it's, the president is very good. He never takes anything off the table. He never puts anything fully on the table because he doesn't want to give away his leverage. And this is a private conversation that we're all going to have about what's necessary to stop the war. But no matter what happens, no matter what form this takes, the Europeans are going to have to take the lion's share of the burden. It's their continent, it's their security, and the president's been very clear they're going to have to step up here.
What's it like meeting Putin? What was he like, just one-on-one?
So I've actually never met Putin. The president did that meeting. I've talked to him on the phone a number of
pizza
times.
They get? Probably Little Caesars.
It's interesting. He's more soft-spoken than you would necessarily expect. The American media has a particular image of him. He's soft-spoken in a certain way. He's very deliberate. He's very careful. And I think fundamentally he's a person who looks out for the interests as he sees it of Russia. And I think one of the reasons he respects the President of the United States is because he knows the President looks out for the interests of the American people. And while they often disagree about issues, and obviously the president has been very critical of Vladimir Putin, the president's also willing to work with anybody if he thinks it's going to accomplish an important goal for America. And we all agree an important goal is to stop the killing.
Let's move to the economy because
I believe that shit when I see it, man. It's been going on for a while. I do think that the probability of the Ukraine-Russia war ending is very, very high right now. Very high. I think it's pretty much going to happen for sure at this point. But I think we're going to also have to wait and see. That's just my guess.
That is still the number one issue in the United States for most voters.
I could be wrong.
The Democrats seem to be banking on an economic downturn, just like they seem to be banking on chaos in the streets against the National Guard.
Sure.
How do you see the economy in the next 6 months as we're seeing some continuing uncertainty regarding interest rates and Jerome Powell?
Well, unfortunately, you have the Democrats. I think they really are betting against the United States. We're betting on the United States and the American people. There are a lot of good things happening in the economy. You have a lot of new investment coming in part because of the tariffs. People are trying to avoid the tariffs by building in the United States, which is their whole point, Laura, and why the president has been right about this issue from the beginning. You see blue-collar wages rising at their fastest rate in 50, 60 years. You see inflation cooling off, that there's still a lot of work to do there. So I feel very good about where the economy is.
Yeah, let's be
honest.
You
can never predict the future. But I think what people all over the world recognize is that it's a time to build in the United States of America. If you want to build a car, you want to build a car manufacturing facility, if you want to build a next generation technology facility, if you want to build houses, whatever you want to do, we are the place to do business.
How about rare earths and magnets, which is what we're dependent on with China, which gives them an enormous amount of leverage over us.
And that's something the president has really directed the entire team to fix that issue, because whether it's rare earth magnets,
I think moving manufacturing here is a good idea, especially with automated plants, which I think the majority of them are going to be now. I feel like this is obviously the right decision. I can't see how it's not, really.
Pharmaceuticals. He wants the United States to depend on Americans. We should not be in a situation where foreign adversaries or competitors have control over critical parts of our economy. Think about this, Laura. God forbid Americans are in some sort of conflict and we can't get antibiotics because we're in a conflict against a country that makes the antibiotics.
Right.
You don't have economic freedom and you don't have real prosperity unless you make your own stuff. That's why the President of the United States is making it so much easier to build things and make things in America.
Now, I know you love talking about politics because you're going to say, well, we can't look forward to 2028.
Yeah, sure.
I understand that.
I'm sick of politics,
But
Laura.
Democrats are still doing their 2024 autopsy.
Yes.
Okay. And part of their autopsy is that going forward, they need to kind of be more like Trump in tone, tougher, have nicknames. Newsom's given you a nickname.
I don't think that they need to do what Trump does. I think that the idea of that is silly because really what you're saying is that they need to just copy something else. The problem that the Democrats have is that they have no real identity that people can get behind and support authentically. And making cosplaying Donald Trump on Twitter, that's not really going to resonate with a lot of people. It's not. And really you can look at people like AOC or Zohan Mandami. I mean, you can say these people are wrong about everything, but for the most part, at least from the perception of, I think, the public, they seem more authentic. And I think that's a big issue that people have.
Which I don't even understand, called Just Dance Vance. So I guess, what's your
Just
favorite dance?
Vance?
What's your favorite dance music?
What?
I mean, it's the dumbest nickname. But how lost are the Democrats right now? And you can answer the dance question.
I mean, look, the autopsy for the Democrats, some free political advice from the President of the United States is
Don't help them too much.
Stop sounding like crazy people. That really is.
Yeah. Had to really do it, huh? Yeah, quit being fucking nuts. Quit being retarded. Jesus. Y'all gotta stop.
Is all it is. I mean, this idea that Gavin Newsom is somehow going to mimic Donald Trump's style, I think that ignores the fundamental genius of President Trump's political success, which is that he's authentic. He just is who he is. Yeah. You've got to be yourself.
He's right about this. Like, Gavin Newsom pretending to be Trump is not really going to it's not going to motivate people. It's just not. Like, I mean, it's cute, right? And some of the things he said are funny. Yeah, definitely. But, like, it's not really... that's not a winning message.
You've actually got to talk to people honestly about the issues. I don't think it's that complicated. Don't be a crazy person. Be authentic. If the Democrats did that, they'd do a hell of a lot better. But the thing is, the Democrats really can't help themselves. If you look at the transgender issue,
he's completely right about this. That they are the Democrat Party is the dog being wagged by the tail. Is that the most extreme 10 to 20% of the Democrat Party are hamstringing the entire party. And they're doing it with divisive identity politics and extreme issues like Hamas being favorable towards them in Palestine. Like, that's what that I think it's like a poison pill to the entire Democrat Party that they have a couple of these like super unpopular social takes, like, you know, trans sports, fucking illegal immigration being okay. Like, I think that the, you know, pro Hamas stuff, like that stuff is super, super, super unpopular. Progressives killed the party. Well, these aren't progressives. They're just retards. They're nutball retards.
Still talking about letting, you know, men play in women's sports. If you look at the crime issue, they're calling Donald Trump a fascist for taking action that in 9 days has dropped armed robberies by 55%. So part of sounding less crazy is being less crazy, and at the 5%. So part of sounding less crazy is being less crazy. And
he's right. Whenever you watch one of these like protests and it's a bunch of screaming, screeching white liberal women that are just angry, I can just give you my take as a guy. I'm voting for whatever is not that. Whatever makes that stop. Like, I want to vote for whatever is going to make that just nope, no more. Settle down. Yeah, whatever they want, it's the opposite of it. That's simple. No, you're not. You don't vote. I might, if J.D. Vance runs again, or if he runs, well, not again. If he runs, I will probably vote for J.D. Vance. I mean, I'm not decided, obviously. I mean, I wouldn't decide until probably the week of the election. But at this point, I would probably vote for him. Yeah, for sure. Me too. Yeah, I mean, I know some people are negative about J.D. Vance because of his, connections with Peter Thiel or whatever, and I think that's fair criticism. But I don't see another alternative, right? I mean, like, I'd vote for Marco Rubio too. I think he's great too. Sure.
Democrats were less crazy, I think we'd all get along a whole lot better.
I'm not trying to pick on California because I am a member of the California bar, so don't get me here. But look, we've had a situation where they're giving commercial driver's licenses to illegal aliens who can't speak English.
They don't have basic English competency.
And they're killing America.
Yeah, that is part of the category of stop sounding crazy. It's nuts. How much did Palantir pay you? Not enough. Message Alex Karp. Tell him I need another payment.
Which matters a whole lot because if you're going to read a road sign, Laura, you might as well, or you need to actually read the language the road sign is written in. And of course, this illegal alien in California killed 3 innocent people because he was reckless, he was dangerous, he shouldn't have been in the country. But now we come to find out he can't even read in the language the road signs are written in. So this is, again, it goes to the Democrats' basic problem, which is they're just too crazy. Imagine if you had a Democratic Party that was focused on enhancing the prosperity and the safety of American citizens rather than bringing in millions.
Well, that's not going to happen anymore. That's done. Nope.
Millions of low-wage illegal immigrants, giving them the right to vote and allowing them to effectively make it harder for Americans to live.
Road signs have nothing to do with language. I wish that if we lived in like a virtual world, I wish I could just teleport you to like the middle of Russia and tell you to start driving. Go ahead. Go ahead. All right. Let's find out. Let's find out. I'm not going to be in your car. I'm going to be in a car like next to you.
Life. That's all this is about.
Yeah, Serbia.
They care more about low-wage foreigners than they do about their own people. That is the fundamental craziness at the heart of the Democratic Party. And until they change that, Gavin Newsom can mimic Donald Trump all that he wants to. They're still going to lose unless they get better policies that actually serve the American people.
Given the
He's actually totally right about this, is that Democrats lose because they have policies that don't resonate with anyone except for people that have mental illnesses. Like, as soon as they can get over that, I actually think that a lot of Democrat policies are majority American opinion policies. Like, generally, Democrats win the popular vote. And why is that? It's because a lot of these policies are actually popular amongst a huge amount of people. And I think that Democrats losing the popular vote, and especially like now, you see like way more people registering as Republican too. I think that really should be a wake-up call. This should be a come-to-Jesus moment. Like, what are you doing? Why are you focusing on, like, these weird trans issues instead of focusing on, school lunches, for example?
That they're endangering the lives and killing American citizens, as we saw with that horrific crash in Florida.
Literally.
Someone says it's such a retarded take. People driving countries with languages that are not known to them all the time. What the fuck? As I said, if you think that's retarded, I am not going to argue with you. I'm not going to elaborate on this. All I'm going to say is that I wish that we lived in a digital world where I could just instantly teleport you to a foreign country and watch you try to drive around. That's all. That's all. It's so retarded. It's not even worth engaging with.
Killing Americans.
Literally killing Americans. I mean, these are not made up statistics. These just happen. I mean, federal highway funds, that's leverage that the federal government has over the states that refuse to do the basics.
That's exactly
Would you
right.
consider advising that DOT and the administration pull back on federal highway funds for these states?
So I don't want to get ahead of any administration announcements, but we are looking at a whole host of points of leverage we can exercise over California and other states to make sure they comply with the law. Sanctuary cities are killing people because you allow these violent criminals to set up shop in your cities.
Then stop giving them money. Shut down the federal funding. and then find the people that are allowing it to happen and not, like, it's like if you have somebody that makes a decision to release an illegal alien that has a criminal record and then the illegal alien kills somebody, put the person who made the decision on that up for manslaughter. Do that a couple of times and this stuff is going to instantly stop happening. This is, and I was going to make actually like a recorded video about this, is that I don't think that we're ever going to see the end of this until we have direct personal accountability applied. Because until that happens, you're going to continue having these same problems because this illegal alien is just a symptom of the issue, right? Some dumb fuck that he doesn't know how to read a turn sign. Okay, yeah, he killed people. That's a tragedy, but this is still small potatoes compared to the apparatus that creates these people. That's the real problem. And unless you can attack the apparatus directly, then you're not doing anything other than placating people that are too stupid to realize. That's what I would say.
Obviously, you saw this case with the person who murdered people on the road, 3 people on the road. Because
stop funding the third largest economy in the world? Well, yeah. I mean, obviously, California is a really big economy. I don't understand. Do you think that California is it's the 4th, by the way, largest economy in the world? I know what you're trying to say, but you're wrong. But do you think that it's the 4th largest economy in the world because they have a bunch of illegal aliens? Do you think that's the reason, that they have a bunch of illegal aliens that are working like housekeeping jobs? That's why they have so much money. How could you even what are you even thinking?
Even read the road signs. We have a lot of points of leverage here, but fundamentally, I think the American people have to stand with us here. Because when we go and tell the governor of California or the governor of New York that you have to stop putting the interests of illegal aliens over American citizens, we need the American people to stand with us. And I think that they will. I think that they are. But we're definitely not going to let this slide.
Well, I think you've got more. I think that this is the same thing, like the same problem that Britain has. I think that we have too. There is still a sizable amount of people that think that bringing illegal aliens into the country is somehow a moral duty that we have as Americans. We still need to kill that ideology more. Like it's like a fraction of what it was like 3 years ago or 5 years ago, but it's still big enough to be a problem. Do you think lower labor costs contributes to the large economy? I think a lot of things contribute to California's economy, but to assume that they're extremely liberal policies that allow crackheads, illegal aliens, and other types of problematic people on the streets, causing problems, shitting on the fucking sidewalk, if you think that's the reason why California is a large economy, you're just retarded. It has nothing to do with that.
Laura, you can't do it. You've got to stop putting the interests of foreigners who don't have the right to be here over the interests of American citizens. That is the entire point and purpose of the Democratic Party. If you go back to the election of 2024, what was the big issue? The big issue was illegal immigration. They were actually defending the rights of illegal immigrants to come into our country, to vote in our elections, to collect Social Security and Medicaid that all by right go to American citizens, to say nothing of.
A lot of people criticize and they counter the point that J.D. Vance is making by saying that illegal aliens don't claim those benefits. That the reality is that a lot of illegal aliens just commit identity fraud and then they claim the benefits of people that they say they are, but they're actually not. This is what happens. It's very, very common. It's extremely common.
Housing. This is actually the biggest driver of housing costs in some of these big blue cities, is that they've flooded the zone with illegal immigrants. As we've kicked illegal aliens out of our country, you actually see housing costs start to level off. So fundamentally, the difference between Republicans and Democrats is we care about American citizens. They actually don't like American citizens and want to replace them with low-wage foreigners. It's a very stark difference. And I think the American people...
It's a problem. It's a huge problem. And also, like, keeping a effective, like, indentured servitude underclass of people working is I think it's a very bad mistake comparing it to just simply, developing automated systems and services that solve these problems better. That's it. That's really what you need to do. You need to stop relying on outdated, farm laborers, and instead of that, go and try to create systems, tools, and robots effectively that do it for you.
We continue to.
I love how he just says this stuff. Yeah, I know.
When Elon Musk departed, he said it was, dramatic departure.
Yeah.
And I know you know him well. You're good friends with him. But he said he was going to start a third party, and that sent everyone into the stratosphere.
Yeah.
But he's since kind of backed off that. And now, according to the Wall Street Journal, he is considering backing you in 2028. I know you don't want to get ahead of the president. He's only 7 months into this. But would that be something you would welcome, certainly his staying in politics and perhaps supporting you down the road?
Yeah, so I saw the story, and as far as I can tell, the story is completely fake. I've never talked with Elon Musk or, frankly, any other donor.
Yeah, Elon said it was fake, too. Literally invented by the media to get people to talk about it.
About 2028, I do think that it would be a huge mistake for Elon to go forward with a third party. And my argument to him is, whether you like it or not, you are now perceived by the far left as on the side of the American right. You believe in law and order. You believe in closed borders. You believe in economic growth and prosperity. You believe in making things in the
J.D. Vance is right about this. And from a pragmatic perspective, even though I agree with Elon in principle on making a third party, I think that in a pragmatic outcome, what a third party would do is it would split the Republican vote and guarantee Democrats to win. Like that's so, like, I agree with this in principle, but in practice, I think that it will backfire.
States of America. The idea that Elon is ever going to go back to being sort of in the middle where Democrats and Republicans both like him, that's just not going to happen.
I don't think it's going to happen either. I don't. I feel like ever since he aligned with Trump, this is like a red line that was crossed with a lot of people, and they're never going to forgive him for that or get over it or anything like that. I mean, think about YouTube content creators who said something bad 10 years ago, and people are still bringing it up every single day today. This is, really. I mean, what's this? It's not even close.
Perceived as being on the American right. And so if he doesn't like things the Republican Party is doing, my advice to Elon would be try to fix the Republican Party. Try to push it in your own way. Disagree with me all you want. Disagree with the President of the United States. But don't pretend that you can make a big difference with a third party. I think Elon would make a much bigger difference if he stayed loyal to President Trump's Republican Party. And if he had disagreements, express those disagreements from the inside as opposed to from the outside.
The New York Times just reported that the Democrats are in a voter registration spiral. 2.1 million Americans ditched the Democrat Party between 2020 and 2024.
Jesus.
Meanwhile, the GOP is doing pretty well. They're gaining 2.4 million. So is this a moment where we could see the midterm curse reversed and the Republican Party gain some ground?
I think we have a good chance, but take nothing.
I think that if Trump is able to settle the Ukraine war and probably get one other W, then it's a pretty much guarantee that they're going to win all of the midterms. They're going to win all of the midterms. It's going to be a total sweep. And it's probably going to be even bigger than the presidential election was.
Thing for granted, Laura, you have the Democrats are still trying to
register. And
they
need to stop the census thing too. Like, they need to retroactively go back and make it to where the people that were counted and that have seats in the government and types of representation because of illegal aliens counted in the census, you need to take those, just immediately go back and get rid of that. They should be doing that tomorrow.
Illegal aliens. They still explicitly say that they want illegal aliens to vote in federal elections. We still have, I think, a lot of headwinds from the media. They never tell the truth about what we're doing, about what the president has accomplished for the American people. So don't rest on our laurels. Keep on achieving victories for the American people and keep on trying to win. That's our path to being able to continue to govern this country. I'm not going to bank anything in 2026. I
think that it's actually very tenuous. That's my opinion. I think there is a good probability that Trump could actually end up losing a lot of support, and there could be a massive amount of Democrats that end up winning because people are unhappy with how things have gone. I think it's absolutely possible. Right now, I would say the possibility of that is 45-55, right? It's less likely than likely, but that can change very quickly. And I think the reason why is that the problem is that I think that a lot of the illegal migration raids, I think that they need to take more control of the narrative and try to shut down the narrative that they're arresting, like, you know, just like random families. And even if they are doing that, embrace it and say, that's exactly what we're doing. Too fucking bad. Cry about it. And I think that doing that is better than trying to play this middle of the road thing. And I think that you underestimate how much people care about Epstein. You overestimate how much people care about Epstein. No, that's not the only thing. Like, I would say that right now, the main issues that people are upset about is the cost of living has not gone down tremendously. That's a very big one. I think another big issue that people care about a lot is the ICE raids. This has been very polarizing for a lot of people. The Epstein files do matter, and I think that they, you know, there's like a 5 or a 10% of the voter base that maybe would be more demoralized and less likely to vote for a Republican because of that. And I think that you also have maybe just a handful of people. Like, I mean, right now, off the top of my head, that's what I'm thinking of. It hasn't gone down at all. Yeah, but I mean, I'm giving like, I listen to polls and stuff like that. I do, but I never, I always, honestly, I just make up my own mind. I just make it up. That's the truth. My polling system is that I made it the fuck up. I read Twitter. That's what I think people think. Yeah, that's literally it. And we'll see what happens. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Maybe I'll be wrong. Sure. And also the redistricting. In my opinion, I think they should totally redistrict everything. Like, because again, it's like, you think about it like this. This is my outlook on it. Is that if you think that you are going up against a party who is trying to actively destroy America by importing infinity illegals in, from my perspective, I think you have like a moral obligation to shut that down in whatever way you can possible. And so from my perspective, what I would do if I were them is that I would gerrymander and redistrict everything. I would shut it down as much as possible. I would disenfranchise as many fucking people as possible because that entire party is toxic, in my opinion, right? And so, like, I would be doing this to help people, right? Comment section's best vibe. Yeah, and I know it sounds crazy for actual retard take. Okay, that's fine. But, like, again, I'm not interested in being retarded or not. I'm interested in winning or not. I think this is an action that would create an outcome that would be beneficial for me. That's what matters to me. So you always do the thing that causes you to win. It's common sense. Then Newsom will do it and win big. No, you're right that California has a lot of seats. But collectively, there are more Republicans that I would say redistricting would be beneficial for collectively across the country. Like, you're right that California is the biggest state, and so like him redistricting would be a massive thing. Sure. But there are a lot of other places where Democrats are totally 100%, but there's a Republican amount of people there, and it's like, let's say 30%. They're ready to tap the market. Yeah, exactly. And so, like, I know that he would do that. California's already gerrymandered. They can't gerrymander the state anymore. Well, even if they could, I would still say do it anyway. Because if you do it, you will win the war of attrition. That's what I would say.
Keep working at it.
Who's your best friend in the cabinet?
We have a lot of good friends, right? I mean, the weird thing is, you say it's one person, then fundamentally that's an insult to other people. I mean, Marco and I are very close. We were close in the Senate. He's been a great friend of mine. I think he's doing a great job. Pete Hegseth, who I went to Union Station, I think is doing a great job as Secretary of Defense.
Marco.
And really, the DC swamp tried to destroy Pete Hegseth, unlike anybody.
I think that also, like, some of these questions, I think that Fox News runs the risk of damaging their credibility by asking questions like that, because I think that they fall under the same category as questions like asking Biden what his favorite flavor of ice cream is. And I think that people that are undecided voters or who are very skeptical will see that, and it will make them uncomfortable.
in the administration, and that really kind of, whenever I see the
credibility, yeah, I think people like what credibility? The same credibility that people give MSNBC or CNN or Fox News. Like whether you think that they should have credibility or not doesn't matter. And also, like, shouldn't that be something you should actively work against?
People in the world trying to tear a guy down, that makes me think
I try to be pragmatic.
Are you doing
push-ups and
pull-ups with him and Bobby? Are you?
I know it sounds
crazy.
I'm sure they can do more push-ups and pull-ups than I have, but I am. It's funny. I do love this presidential focus on fitness.
Yeah.
And Bobby and Peter obviously leading the way.
It's better that they're in the gym than they're fat. This is an improvement. And I think also, like, I mean, there's another element to this that I will be totally honest with. I like the focus on the more masculine ideals, like working out, being fit, being strong, being aggressive, law and order, etc. Like I don't want to live in a Karenocracy. And so when I see a bunch of guys that are at a gym working out, doing pull-ups, I think to myself, okay, thank God, like this isn't some like weird fucking soccer mom government. When are you going to look like it? Like, okay. All right. Anyway.
But I'm going to participate as much as I can.
You're going to Georgia, big, beautiful bill. Can we expect any fireworks down there? What can we say?
Well, I guess it depends on who's going to show up to the rally. But yeah, we're going to have a lot of fun, talk about the big successes of the big, beautiful bill, the fact that it lowers taxes for the gross majority of Americans, the fact that we're making it easier to build things in America again. So we're going to have a good time, and we're going to talk about all the things.
I don't know why they don't talk about raising taxes on corporations and raising taxes on like very, very wealthy people. Like I think really it's like it doesn't take a huge amount. They just need to increase a few percentages. I think it would make a huge difference, and I think ultimately it would probably win them more favor. And it would also like break a lot of messaging that is against the Republican Party. Are you dumb? No, I'm saying like if this is, a lot of people think in terms of absolutes. If they can do something that has the messaging and the perspective of something that is of the opposite point of view, that damages the people that are criticizing them and it weakens their message against them. Everything should you have to look at things as a strategic action. A lot of people look at things as an action of like what's right and wrong. This is silly. You shouldn't think that way. You should think about what is the most effective way on how to solve a problem and how to take advantage of an outcome. It's a strategy fundamentally. The top 5% contributes about 60% of federal tax. Yeah, of course. You know exactly why they don't do that? No, I don't agree with the idea that the Republican Party is controlled by rich people and Democrats isn't. I think they're both controlled by rich people. And I think also that, and I think if anything, it weakens the argument, right? Because if the Republicans do that, then it totally flips that back like on its head. Reduce government spending, no higher taxes for anyone. Well, I don't know. I mean, from my perspective, like I've said this before. Like I think it's like 41, it's like 39 or 41% tax that you pay if you make a lot of money, like the highest tier of tax. I think they should probably have like two more tiers that go up by like 3% or 5%. And I think really being able to take advantage of an American economy, the best economy in the world, being able to become a multi 10 plus, 20 plus, 50 plus millionaire, I think it's okay to ask that guy to chip in a little bit more. I do. I think it's all right. And I'm going to be honest. That would be me. I'm one of the only people probably here. I know there's some, maybe Saudi princes that are watching or something like that. Well, I guess you guys aren't paying taxes here in the U.S. But like, I'm sure some of you guys are making a lot of money too. But like, I'm advocating for something that would directly affect me as an individual.
It's doing just to make people's lives better. That's the whole reason we're doing this. We want Americans to be able to live safe, prosperous lives in their own country. We made a lot of progress in 7 months. We're going to make a lot more.
Hey, Sean Hannity here.
No,
hey.
I think that's true. But I feel like, again, they need to think about one thing that they can do that will make them very effective is figuring out ways that they can effectively subvert a lot of the Democrat talking points. Again, how many points in a graph of the government wasting our tax dollars do you need until you get a line? Well, I think that you're talking about two different things, right? And so, like, you're talking about, so number one, like, so I agree with both things. I think that absolutely, like, I was a big supporter of Doge. Like, when I heard that Elon Musk was leaving, I was really sad because I was hoping that they would audit the Pentagon. I mean, I understand that this is like, you retard, this would never happen. Yeah, of course. But I still hope that this would happen. Like, I mean, there's a lot of things that I hope that would happen that are not going to happen. So, yeah, I hope she texts me back one day, right? And so anyway, yeah, there's many examples of this. So, yes, you're totally right that the government wastes a tremendous amount of money, etc. But at the same time, I want both, right? I want a better, a better way of us using our money. And I also want higher taxes for people that are making money. That's it. Most rich people pay nowhere near those tax rates. Oh, I know all about that. I know about that. Like, for me personally, what percentage of my income do I pay in taxes? I would say it's probably around 35%. If I had to guess, it's probably about 35% of my income that I pay on my taxes. Like, I don't do any weird tax haven stuff. I don't do any crazy tax avoidance. I don't do anything. I just simply pay my taxes as a fucking individual, and it is what it is. Yeah, that's an insane amount. I have no problem with it. I was a beneficiary of government welfare for many years, and now I'm paying for the new generation of NEETs to sit home and jack off to bullshit. I have no problem with it. That's the circle of life. Yep, absolutely. And Easy, thank you. Yeah, I mean, that's, you want to ask my honest opinion. Why don't you structure your wealth? Because if you want the honest truth, I don't care. I don't care. Like, it doesn't matter to me. Like, oh, wow, I'm making this much money. There are a lot of ways that I can make more money. Like, there's plenty of ways I could, like, you guys saw, like, the Kick thing. I was making a lot more money. You know what I do with that money? I got a statement from my bank. I didn't even open it. I just threw it away. Actually, to be fair, I don't throw them away because, like, it's like personally identifiable information. I separate it. I put it somewhere else. But I don't even open them. I don't look at them. I don't care about any of this shit. I don't care. Like, the only thing that I care about is playing video games, doing what I want to do, eating fast food, streaming and making my YouTube videos, and that's it. That's all I care about. That's all. It's my whole life. I don't need I don't need a bunch of bullshit, okay? That's because you can. Of course, but, like, I could care about a lot of other stuff on top of that, and I don't. Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, but, like, that's enough. Yes, I don't need, I don't want a complex life. I don't want all of these things. These are complexities and issues and problems, and I don't want to deal with any of that. A good yacht for the mods win. Okay, guys. Why don't y'all relax, all right? More money, more problems? Yeah, sure. No woman, no housekeeper? No, I don't have a girlfriend. I don't have a girlfriend, not married, not engaged, anything like that. Housekeeper, I mean, I don't really make a lot of a mess. I mean, really, like, I could clean up all of the mess in my room in like one day. I could clean it all up in one day, and then it would be pretty much clean. That's it. No, I'm being serious. Like, yeah, it would be nothing.